I like to read the stuff that is outside the box and is bold and exciting. And if it feels redundant and down the middle, then I start to lose interest.
Hey, welcome to Behind the Curtain. I'm Nehemiah Jordan, and one of the biggest non-writing questions that I get asked is, how do I get a manager? And what do managers even do? Which is a great question, because if you had asked me maybe a year ago what a manager was and what the difference between a manager and an agent was, I probably would not have been able to tell you.
I never really knew what managers did or how to be one.
This is Jon Hersh.
Thanks for having me.
He runs the literary management company Housefire Management.
I've sold specs to studios. I've had client staff on TV shows.
So I figured, hey, this is the perfect guy to answer those questions. After all, a manager is looking for
not only good material, but good people that they can help springboard their careers.
So I asked him if he wanted to give some tips to aspiring screenwriters that watch Behind the Curtain. And he said,
sure thing, yeah.
So today we are focusing on the key highlights from that interview and talking about how you can actually apply that information to your writing process and to your journey as a screenwriter. And as always, if you want to hear the full interview, go to behindthecurtainfilm.com and become a member today. Let's begin.
I would say don't chase trends, but in my point of view, there's like two paths that you can choose. And I think every writer should have like one piece of material in each of these categories.
Jon has an interesting strategy that I've never considered before.
Like the first category would be something super like high concept idea that's commercial and that can be made for a price. Like you don't want something that's like Transformers where it's $100 million, $200 million budget, but you want something that's like a big idea that can be done kind of on a small scale, whether it's horror, sci-fi, action, you know, one of the commercial genres.
The key word here seems to be commercial. Something that a studio exec can look at and say, I can make that, and make a profit doing it. This is because there's already a proven audience that will watch these types of films.
On the flip side of that, something that will never get made, something that you write because you have to write it and because you're so passionate about it, but there's like almost no chance in hell that it'll get made, but it'll get people talking, and it's so out there and bold and unique that it'll be the thing that, you know, the exec junior C or the assistant somewhere will be,
hey, did you guys check this out? Like, you need to read this because it's just like such a fun read and it's so different than everything else.
That'll then catch fire and get you a meeting, get you a writing assignment, stuff like that. I mean, it depends, but I've almost had more success with that category because it leads to writing assignments versus the trying to actually sell something to, because it's just so hard to sell a spec. But I would say, yeah, it's great for a writer to have one piece of material for both of those categories.
So what do we do with this information? Personally, I don't really think about the function of my screenplays strategically. You know, I have an idea that I like and then I write it, which I think is a fairly common tactic. But after talking to Jon, it really made me think about how, you know, a certain script that is meant to really grab the attention of studio execs and different people in the industry doesn't have to be the same script that I really try to sell and get produced and win my Oscar with. There have been so many ideas that I've dismissed because I thought they were too crazy or, you know, they would never get made or too unrealistic. And now I'm thinking that that's not the right way to operate. Especially as a beginning writer, it is always more beneficial to write the story and learn from it than to be super selective. I mean, I think that is the function of every screenplay as a new writer, which is just to become a better writer by going through the process, period.
One thing that I think every writer should do is read as many screenplays as you can get your hands on.
Now, this seems obvious, right? But confession, I've gone lengths of time where I haven't read a single screenplay. And I don't think I'm the only one.
Because I think some people I've spoken to don't read at all. And it's like, how are you going to have any perspective on your own writing if you don't read other people's writing.
And this is a massive reason why I've been hosting script clubs for the membership. I'll talk a little bit about it later, but the main thing has just been, it's been an excuse for me to read one screenplay every week, really analyze it, and then discuss it with other writers.
And I would say sometimes it's even more educational to read the bad scripts and the mediocre scripts that don't make it. So then you have an idea of kind of, you know, maybe I should change some things in my own writing to make it not like that and strive for, you know, I think sometimes it's more educational to read the kind of down the middle 5s and 6s out of 10 that you see, just to kind of figure out how to differentiate yourself.
To get unproduced scripts, I would recommend getting things from annual lists like the Hit List or the Blacklist. These are regarded as some of the like best unproduced screenplays in the industry, and some are good and some are bad. But I think the biggest benefit of it is just reading things that only exist on that paper, that you can't really compare it to a film with acting and direction and cinematography. It's just what's on the page, which is very important as a writer. And then the other thing I would say, swapping scripts with people to get feedback, reading what your peers are writing, and being able to formulate constructive script feedback is honestly more beneficial for you as a writer than it is for the people that you're giving the feedback to.
So I have a client that...
The question you've all been waiting for: how do I get a manager? From our conversation, it seems like query letters, getting on lists, contests, those all work fine. But I wanted Jon to talk about a specific example of how he found a client and what he did with them to better their career.
I was kind of scouring all of the lists that they put out and all of the labs and fellowships and stuff like that. And I found through the Film Independent website, there was a lab that had a list of the finalists, and there was a script with a title that I really liked called Jawbone, and I thought it sounded cool, and it turned out to be about the plastic surgery industry in South Korea, which I thought, you know, was bold and interesting. And I read the script, and it was really, really dark, and I was like, I don't know if it'll get made, but I love it, and I want to meet with the writer. And so I met with her, and then I just went to work and put together a list, and I think I made 90 submissions of just producers, and I tried to get in touch with these Korean companies, you know, CJ Entertainment, which made Parasite. This was before Parasite, but I was trying to connect with Korean filmmakers and like figure out a way to package it and put it together. And surprisingly, like the agents of these filmmakers, like pretty well established filmmakers, like took my calls, but didn't really give a shit, you know, because I didn't have any credits. I wasn't calling to offer them money for their client. So what happened was I met with an agent, and I was pitching him some things, and he was kind of like, okay, sure. And then I pitched him that, and he was like, send me that. And I sent it to him, and then pretty soon the client's signing with the agency, and they're putting her up for stuff. I'm putting her up for stuff. And then, so that script was really, really, really dark. And somehow she got an opportunity at a studio called Paramount Players, which is like an offset of Paramount. They had a book that they had just optioned in a bidding war, and they wanted to find a writer for it. And she went up against all these writers, and we just developed her pitch until she was completely sick of saying it. And I was listening to it on the phone, and we were tweaking it here and there, and she pitched it to the agents. We went in to pitch it to the agents, and at first they said, this isn't going to work, and it was heart-wrenching, and we had to completely rework it. And then they said, okay, this is a little bit better. And then finally she went in, and it was like, okay, you're down to, there's 2 of you up for it. And then she had to go in, I think, for 3 full pitch meetings all the way to the top, and then got the job. So that'll give you an idea of how difficult it is. But she got the job. She's since gotten two writing assignments since, one in TV at a streamer and one at a major studio as a rewrite. So even if you don't have a manager, I think getting an objective point of view on the material is super helpful, because I used to write stuff and I would send it to a family member or something and they would say, wow, this is great. But you don't really know that until you have a stranger who doesn't know you or care about you read it and tell you what they think about it. So I think that's super helpful. And also finding somebody who can give you constructive feedback, and if it's worth developing, help you to make it better.
Most people are not surrounded by a group of storytellers. You know, like he said, most people are surrounded by their moms and their friends and their brothers who aren't interested in screenwriting or storytelling. And yeah, the feedback you get from them is like, oh, cool, that's so dope. And that sort of feedback doesn't make you a better writer. This is why I created the Behind the Curtain membership. You know, it's not just the interviews. It is to create that community of people that are just as passionate as you, that want to go on that journey with you to become a better writer, that are constantly challenging each other, constantly having discussions about screenplays, about writing, about storytelling, about film, really pushing each other to make those steps forward on our journey. And that's really the only way to do it. Doing it isolated and alone has its limits. And I don't think anyone wants to do that. But we have been doing that, especially with how the world is right now. And if you're interested in becoming a part of our community Behind the Curtain, becoming a member, go to behindthecurtainfilm.com. If you have any questions, you can comment it, or you can reach out on the public Discord server, which I'll have the link in the description. But I really think it can be something special and beneficial to you on your process. If you're alone, if all you have are brothers and mothers who, you know, can't really give you good feedback, or, you know, you can't really rave about film with, join Behind the Curtain. Become a member. It's there for you. But I hope you're able to take something from this discussion today. I really enjoyed talking to Jon Hersh. I think there's a lot of valuable insight there, and something you can actually apply to your writing today. I'm Nehemiah Jordan. This has been Behind the Curtain. I'll see you guys next week.